How you doing, everybody? You know who it is here. Long time no see, but to be honest, I just thought I'd film a little video here to talk about some music that I've got in my collection over the last few months. Just feeling a bit inspired. I know it's been an awfully long time since I filmed a video, but I just felt like having a little chit chat about some of the great new music in my collection. So starting it off, we've got probably the biggest metal drop of the year, Blood Incantations, Absolute Elsewhere. This is the massively anticipated follow-up to their album, the debut album, Hidden History of the Human Race, which was a hugely pioneering album in the sort of postmodern traditional death metal wave that we're going through right now. And Blood Incantation have been, leaders of that movement for quite some time. And with the splash that the debut made, there was a massive amount of anticipation that, gets to the sort of levels where no amount of follow-up can really meet or exceed expectations. But this, to me, is one of those really rare occasions. I think what's really cool is that after they released Hidden History of the Human Race, they then dropped a ambient album. I believe it was called Time Wave Zero, which was a real left hook. Nobody really saw it coming, and it was just a sort of spacey ambient album. Then I believe last year that was followed up by a 2-track EP called The Luminescent Bridge, which kind of, considering the namesake, I almost think that they're pointing at a sort of bridging the gap between their ambient and their death metal side, which has come full circle on Absolute Elsewhere here. And you're given what is, in my opinion, possibly the most groundbreaking album of this particular movement going on right now. I genuinely mean that. It's fantastic. It maintains the sort of reverbed vocals that almost, feel like you're listening to the monologue of some kind of interdimensional, like, space being. And you have passages of guitars that just go from relentless postmodern death metal assault into literal psychedelia. The riffs repeat in sort of somewhat strange time signatures before they tend to dissipate, and then you're given like Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon era vocals, and it's just a real trip. And actually, while I wasn't the biggest fan of Time Wave Zero and the sort of the purely ambient side of their music, I mean, I think it's fantastic that they've actually managed to merge those two sides of their music so well here, because with this album, you can go from spacey, psychedelic, furious death metal into a literal seamless transition into some sort of spacey ambience that just doesn't feel out of place, and it doesn't feel like they're trying too hard. They've literally mastered it here. You've seen this album everywhere if you listen to heavy music this year. It's not, there's not much more I can say about it that hasn't already been said, but they've really lived up to the expectations, and this, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. So that's Blood Incantation with Absolute Elsewhere. The second album I want to talk about is by a band who only a few years ago dropped what was my favourite sludge metal album in recent years and was an instant classic. I'm talking, of course, about Chatpile. American sludge metal, modern machine. Again, this is another follow-up that was highly anticipated and came with a lot of lofty expectations from their fan base. And while it didn't actually win me over the first couple of listens, it really has grown on me. It's nowhere near as heavy generally as the previous album, but that's not to say that it doesn't have its moments of, the sort of despair and despondency and the pictures that they try to paint of, modern day America that they did so well on the debut. But actually here they incorporate more melody, more clean singing, but they do it in a way that is very much, recognizable as Chatpile. And it's not like they're just taking their foot off the accelerator, because the songwriting on this album is so good. I love the song Shame. I believe that was one of the lead singles, and I think the chorus on that album, on that song, is fascinating. I think it's just really beautifully well sung. I got this at my local record store, Vinyl Hunter in Bury St Edmunds, and I believe that this is like on quite a cool colour variant. I always like to get limited colour variants just for exclusivity, but also just to sort of keep track of what my record collection's valuing at, and obviously this sort of stuff bolsters it. It's really cool, like neon piss yellow. But yeah, that's another follow-up that just I was really impressed by and has grown on me an awful lot, and I can't stop listening to it. Definitely one of my favourite records to come out in 2024. Right, if I can get this thing away, then I can talk about the next album. Cool. Album number 3 is by a band that don't really need any introduction. They're an absolutely foundational band in death metal and brutal death metal. I've known about them for a very long time. I've been familiar with a lot of their classic material, but actually it's only very recently when I've really decided to give them a proper deep dive, and this is of course Incantation, with my favourite album of theirs currently, Mortal Throne of Nazarene, with that extremely gory, abstract and really just curious album cover. I love the hollow printing on the wording there. I think that's beautiful. But what really interested me about this particular era of Incantation's career is that while you have the absolutely earth-shattering vocals, the songwriting is as unclear and murky and unpredictable as the album artwork. It's like you're looking at some sort of abstract expressionist artwork image, and the music that accompanies it, has that kind of feel. It doesn't follow any conventional songwriting structures. I mean, I guess there are structures there, but it's so unpredictable how they go from, tremolo picking to doomy riffs, to just sort of, utilising space. And it just makes for a real ride. If you've never heard this, definitely check it out. Incantation, absolutely legendary band. They've got a very big back catalogue, which I am still sinking my teeth into to really flesh out my ideas about this band. I want to buy more records from them. But yeah, Incantation, Mortal Throne of Nazarene. I want to talk about a couple of gigs that I went to lately. So I saw Obituary last night. They played at the Colchester Arts Centre, which is a converted church about just over an hour from where I live, and it's now the second gig I've been there, because a few months ago I saw Suffocation, and it's really cool because where I live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, there is not really many places within driving range where I can go and see good metal concerts, because obviously it's niche music, but I've now seen 2 of the most legendary bands in the entire genre in a small church, just a little drive away from where I live. So that's really cool. Whoever's booking the bands for then that venue definitely needs a raise. Obituary were really cool. Just really good show. I was front row for the first sort of half of it, and then obviously I got in the pit, and this is really good to see them rocking out and just putting on a great show at this stage of their career. I loved the last album. I thought it was, really good to see them getting back to their strengths. Production was amazing, really catchy songwriting. They were supposed to be opened by a California thrash metal band called Sadus, but rather disgustingly, the drummer of Sadus recently has been ousted as a wife-beating piece of shit, and there's video footage online to prove it. I'm not going to go into more detail about that, but obviously they were pulled out of the tour, and they were replaced by a band called Celestial Sanctuary, which the really cool thing about that is that they're from my town of birth, Bury St Edmunds. And the amazing thing about that is that they've just signed to Metal Blade Records, which for any band is a huge deal. And no Bury band, despite the amount of really promising acts that have ever come out of there, have ever signed, to my knowledge, have ever signed a major label deal, nor have really been given the support to go on international tours. So to see that band get it, it's just really cool, and they put on a really great show. Celestial Sanctuary, go give them a check out if you want to hear some really crushing, like Cannibal Corpse, gory, violent death metal that's just performed really well, and the guys know how to have a good bit of stage banter, as I found out last night. They put on a really great show. I went to Damnation Festival at the beginning of last month. Incredible. I mean, of the music events where I've seen more than one artist, that's the best of the best that I've been to. Dragged into Sunlight, first performance in 5 years in tribute of the late artist who designed their notoriously gruesome Hatred for Mankind album cover. And that performance was one of the few gigs that I've been to where I was genuinely intimidated by like what was going on. You have all the if you've ever heard the album Hatred for Mankind, which they performed in full with some other material back-ended at it, you know that it is basically a serial killer marathon with all these clips of different people, different famous killers, and to see them live with the huge rigs that they had, with the massive amount of cabs and the mat amps, and they had pyro on stage, and you know they all face away from the audience because they're very secretive. Loudest concert I've been to, and they were incredible. The pit was, I had to get into the pit at a Dragged into Sunlight show. Crowd surfing, they really were spectacular, and I really feel fortunate to have seen them. Another band that I started listening to in the run up to the show, because sometimes I don't know every artist on the set list. So not set list, fucking hell, lineup. Sorry. And I don't know every artist, but I started listening to The Ocean, and they were playing their full Pelagic album, which to see live, that's an amazing album, by the way. Less heavy than a lot of the stuff that I talk about on here, but it is a really, really fantastic concept album, and to see it performed live for what was supposed to be the final time, with the visuals that accompany each song, that you know, with what each song represents, it was just a really special occasion. And also the singer stage dived on top of me, so it was only me on my own just holding him up at one point while he was going for it. It was so much fun. Nails, bucket list band, got to see them. They were one of the best bands of the weekend. You know, they were just so good. I don't know what I can say. You know, I don't really need to explain it. They were excellent. Biggest surprise for me would be Celeste. I think it's pronounced Celeste or Celeste. French sort of post black metal band, I'm going to say. I listened to them briefly prior to the festival, but actually seeing them live, I was quite far back from the stage, behind the sound desk. And the stage was really dark, and if you've ever seen a video of this band playing, a lot of the time for certain songs they're using these like red head torches, these like searchlights, but from where I stood I could only see the silhouette of the band members, so I'm just literally looking at these shadowy figures with red searchlights coming out their heads. And they put on their music videos on this huge screen behind the stage, and there was one particular song where the video is obviously referencing some kind of domestic abuse, but again the video is very abstract, so you can't exactly tell what's going on, but it was absolutely haunting, and it was so fascinating to watch at the same time. And I hadn't paid this band barely any attention prior to the concert, but they were spectacular. But that whole diatribe I've just been on about concerts was because also at Damnation there were a couple of record dealers, and once I saw this DSBM classic, this is Shining 5 Halmstad. I might not be pronouncing that right, but this is an album that is, obviously it's DSBM. I'm not going to explain what that stands for, because there's certain words within that genre that could get this video taken off of YouTube. But really, really dark stuff, as you can probably tell by the album cover. I had listened to it plenty prior to the gig. I'd always wanted to add it to my collection. Fantastic guitar playing, creepily dark lyrics. It's a real transition. It's not just a classic black metal album. You know, you're getting moments of almost like dark, smooth blues, where you're having a sort of monologue about mental health and just various spoken word passages, and the whole thing's just a trip. Challenging listen, but I can deal with that sort of stuff. And it is a brilliant album, and I wish I brought more money to Damnation, because there was a lot of good metal on sale there on vinyl. and great merch as well. Oh yeah, I'm wearing the Dragged Into Sunlight tee that I got from the... Oh, shit. Right, I nearly just knocked my iPad off my bed, but I'm wearing the Dragged Into Sunlight t-shirt that I got there. An hour and a half I had to queue for this merch on the Saturday night. I missed about half of Mizmore's set because of that, but because I thought I wasn't going to be able to get it at any other point, so I went full hype beast like an absolute dickhead and queued up for an hour and a half to get a t-shirt. Oh well. Last but not least, I want to talk about a band that I've recently got into. I believe this was released last year. This is Moonlight Sorcery with Horned Lord of the Fawned Castle. This is kind of like hard black metal, but almost with a slight twinge of like extreme power metal mixed in, just from the epicness and the crispness of the production going on. Again, really cool album cover, amazing foil, just a really good pressing actually. I think if you open it up, yeah, it comes with like this book thing inside where you've got amazing printing going on. And I really appreciate when bands do stuff like this, because there's a lot of artists who are far more mainstream and have the means and the finances to create the best vinyl package possible, and they put in minimal effort and you're just getting a sleeve and a disc. But with Moonlight Sorcery, you know, you're getting the beautiful foiled logo, you're getting that lovely booklet on the inside. Sometimes bands will include posters, even a lyric sheet, you know. It's the little things like that that make me feel like I'm getting my money's worth, and it also tells me that the artist really cares about their music. Okay, that's why I appreciate you bands that do go the extra mile for your vinyl packages, because for the same amount of money I paid for this, I've bought records by artists who have millions and millions and millions in the bank, but there's just no effort going into the package, so you can tell me that they can do more for the money. Yeah, anyway, enough about corporate bullshit. Moonlight Sorcery, really great melodic power metal, blackened power metal, fantastic guitar playing, really cool vocals. I'm gonna need to listen to it again, to be honest, because it's been a little while, and actually I'm not even that familiar with it now. I feel like it's weird that with music, isn't it? Sometimes your mind goes blank when you think about what it sounds like, and then you listen to it all again and it all comes back to you. Anyway guys, that is it for today. I know it's been an awfully long time since I've uploaded anything to the channel. I just felt a sudden surge of inspiration. I'm going to be sharing my top albums of the year pretty soon. Might be a couple albums that I've mentioned there in that list. And I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe. Once again, I'm You Know Who It Is.